So, a few months back, my girlfriend and I moved into our first apartment together. We were just starting out, so we didn't have much furniture. She found this listing for a couch and a coffee table on Craigslist, and it looked perfect. The guy selling it had uploaded a few pictures, and everything looked legit. She reached out to him, and he seemed normal over text. Gave her his address, said we could come check it out, and mentioned he was willing to negotiate on the price if we came that day. Now, we should have both gone together from the start, but I had to get gas, so she drove there alone, and I planned to meet her a few minutes later. When she got there, she texted me saying, "It's the same as the pictures." The guy had all the furniture set up like it was a showroom. But as she started talking to him, she said he began acting weird. First, he told her she could have it for half off if she'd let him take her out to dinner. She brushed it off, trying to stay polite. But then he kept pushing, saying she didn't even need to pay at all if she'd just sit on the couch for a while and model it. That's when I pulled up. I got out of the car and walked up to the front door. And as soon as he saw me walk in, his whole vibe changed. He looked stunned, like he wasn't expecting anyone else. He even stuttered a bit when he tried to talk to me. I kept it cool, but I could tell he was rattled. I asked how much he wanted for the furniture, and he gave me this weird, nervous laugh, then said, "Oh, I just remembered someone else actually wanted it." The whole situation felt off, and I just wanted to get my girlfriend out of there. So I said we'd think about it and left with her. As we were driving away, she checked her phone and saw a notification. The guy had sent her this creepy message saying, "Didn't know you'd bring company. Come alone next time." She blocked him immediately. I don't know what he had planned, but I can't shake the feeling that things would have gone really bad if I hadn't shown up when I did. This happened to a friend of mine last year. She had a bunch of clothes she wanted to sell, mostly stuff she didn't wear anymore. So she posted them online. Pretty soon, she got a message from a guy who seemed interested, asking if she'd model the clothes and send him more pictures of herself wearing them. Now, she thought that was weird and just said, "No, these are the photos I posted." He backed off, but he still wanted to buy a few items, and he offered to come by her place to pick them up. She decided it was safe enough since her boyfriend would be home when he came. When he showed up, he was just off. He kept glancing around her apartment, looking over her like he was studying her. She sold him the clothes and figured that was that. But about a week later, she saw him again. He was parked across the street from her place, just watching. She told her boyfriend, but he shrugged it off, saying it was probably nothing. Then he showed up again the next week, and again the week after. Each time, he'd knock on her door and ask if she had more clothes for sale. She told him no each time, and he'd leave without making a scene. But it was definitely creeping her out. Finally, she called the cops. They came by and warned him to leave her alone, but he didn't really break any laws, so they couldn't arrest him. She ended up moving a couple of months later just to feel safe again, but to this day, she still wonders if he's lurking around her old place, watching, waiting. So, a few years back, I was really into collecting Pokemon cards. I had a few rare ones that I wanted to sell, so I posted them on Craigslist. Within a few hours, I got an offer from a guy saying he'd pay cash and meet me in a nearby parking lot. He sounded really eager, almost too eager, but money was money, right? We agreed to meet in the afternoon in the parking lot of a grocery store. It was pretty public, so I figured I'd be fine. He said he'd be driving a blue sedan. So I parked my car and waited, and sure enough, a car pulled up right on time. But it wasn't blue. It was an old, beat-up white van. Right away, I got this feeling in my gut that something wasn't right. The guy rolled down his window, and instead of stepping out, he just sat there, staring at me. He waved for me to come closer, and I hesitated. Something about him was off. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't talking, just staring with this intense look like he was sizing me up. When I didn't move, he finally spoke. "Hop in," he said. "Let's look at the cards in here." Now, I'd heard enough stories to know this was sketchy. I told him he could come out and look at the cards here. But he shook his head and kept insisting that I get in the van, saying, "Come on, man, don't be weird about it. Just hop in, I'll make it quick." At that point, I knew something was seriously wrong. I grabbed my cards, turned, and walked back to my car, trying not to look too scared. As I was pulling away, he just sat there, watching. No attempt to follow me, no attempt to call out. Just sat there. After I got home, I kept thinking about what would have happened if I'd gotten in. I looked back at his messages, and there were little things I hadn't noticed at first. The way he avoided giving his name. The way he kept pushing for a private location even after I'd suggested a public place. Safe to say, I stopped selling anything on Craigslist after that.